I've been getting a lot of questions lately about, why some people have these miracle turnarounds when they adopt an animal-based carnivore human diet, and why some people don't. And from what I've seen, I think I have a theory, and from my own perspective, my own story, and then the people that I'm helping, sort of gathering this and like making sense of it. So I have this thing that I'm going to share with you today about potential energy and fat in general, and this is another outlook on it. This is from my critical thinking, logical standpoint that has come evolved over time. And I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. My name is Anthony Stewart. This is Food for Thought, and we're questioning everything they've ever said. And today we're talking about fat and the other side of it. And I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions on this. And at the end, we'll get into some reasons why. Anyway, so potential energy, fat, energy, body fat. What is it? I mean, we can go the science route and say it's a combination of amino acids, triglycerides, blah blah blah. But what I've come to realize is that Mother Nature, God and Mother Nature, had a plan, and they are perfect. So why would we have the ability to store fat in the first place? And then we'll break down into some of the mechanisms. But if we look at fat in this way, okay, first of all, we got protein, which is our building blocks. It's what we're made of: our enzymes, our blood, our peptides, tissues, bone. But yet, and then we have energy in the form of carbohydrates or fat. But also, my thoughts are fat comes along with fat-soluble vitamins and essential fatty acids. Carbohydrates come with energy, but don't really bring anything to the table aside from glucose, fructose, or galactose, which is another topic. But what happens? What would make us store fat? And if we think about it from a natural standpoint, if our bodies, or if we were about to go into a state of food scarcity, a famine, and there was excess energy around, it would make sense that what we don't use, we'd store. Now, speaking from a calories in, calories out standpoint, I mean, you know how I feel about calories. I don't really. If you need a metric to count an athlete, or for some reason, and that's the metric that you're using, there might be a place for it. But for just the average normal person, you have to think in protein and energy. Excess energy, what would happen? If you're not using that energy, you would store it. Our bodies have natural mechanisms for that. So when you're consuming energy, and say, for instance, sugar, it's quick burning energy. But if you're not using it, it would make sense logically that it would be stored. That's why when you adopt a low carbohydrate diet and you get your blood work done, and we're not going to get into cholesterol today, but we'll talk about the triglycerides. Your triglycerides on a high carbohydrate diet will go up if you're not using the energy. If you go on a low carb diet, the triglycerides come down, and it's across the board. You can look at anybody's story online. That's generally what happens. And why is that? Well, there's things that happen, de novo lipogenesis, fat from new. So when our body's metabolizing these energies, it prioritizes, and it's not a coincidence that when we store fat first, it's our organs. Now, it's clear that they're resolving fatty liver by stopping eating sugar. Simple. Fructose, causes potential storage. The liver must break it down. The glucose can get pushed into cells and muscles and glycogen, but for what we're talking about right now is from a natural standpoint. So we're the only species on the planet that is obese, overweight, malnourished, and sick at the same time. So let's look at that. Now, what would that essentially mean? Would mean we are eating an abundance of energy and we're not using it. So the body is storing it. And if you look at fat as potential energy, body fat, you have to learn how to tap into it. Now, that can be done with physical exercise. That can be done with diet. But here's the other side of it. And what I've found with my clients, there seems to be a point where, some people get these this fat loss right away. A lot of it's water. We know this. Carbohydrates. Water follows carbohydrate. Water follows sugar into the muscles. When we stop the sugar and it starts releasing that energy, the water goes. So that's your first, 3 to 6 pounds that everybody feels in the first week, and that makes sense, right? The water, our body starts to realize that it doesn't need to require the water, so it lets it go. Now, when we're trying to tap into potential energy, we can do it a bunch of different ways, but of course with exercise. And you eat less, you move more. What do you think would happen? In a mathematical sense, but is that sustainable long term? Now we look at history, and we know that all diets fail. You go on a diet, you work for a certain goal. When you get to that goal, if you don't keep it up, it all comes back. Why? I think there's a missing link here, and that missing link is your body's comfort and safety. Now, nervous system, immune system, all these systems are at play here. So when we address weight loss, what are we addressing? When we're addressing body fat percentage, it's a different mechanism. Now, yeah, that's why the ketogenic diet, the low carb diets, that's why they work. And the longer you go on them, now we can argue if it's good to be in ketosis 24/7. I can understand that. But when Mother Nature gave us the ability to use two fuel systems, it would make sense to be optimally using them both. That would lead to metabolic flexibility. Now, I believe everybody has a control knob. Are we supposed to eat carbohydrates? We can argue that. Do we need carbohydrates? I would argue that we do not need them to live. Whether you use them for a tool or for some benefit, there may be a place for it, sure. But what right now we're talking about, when your body is overloaded with excess energy and your nervous system is running rampant, the stress, the trauma, the lifestyle, and these systems aren't able to function at a homeostatic, natural level, what do you think happens? We know this when the body's shocked, we hold on to things for safety. It prioritizes safety, survival, the Maslow's law hierarchy of it's survival first. We need to survive. So what is that telling you when you're hammering back all this garbage food? Maybe your body's saying, hey, we might not have this tomorrow. It doesn't make sense to be hangry. It doesn't make sense to be smacking. All these meal times were created by man. We would eat when the food was there, and when we didn't, we would learn how to get more. That would make sense. We would get more focused. We would get sharper. We would figure out ways to get food, preserve food. It doesn't make sense to have 24/7 access to all this food, most of it junk food, skip the dishes, 7-Eleven, all this stuff. It's driving us towards this anti-survival mechanism. And that's what I find with people when they're healing. The body fat is it's like there's a gate, and as you're lining up to that gate, when the body releases it, it's safe, it's comfortable, and you find that people will be at a plateau for a very long time, and then all of a sudden, depending on their situation, on what's wrong or what's broken, once that starts repairing, the floodgates open and body fat just starts shedding. And I've seen it time and time again from my own story. I have been consistently going down with body fat percentage, pretty much regardless of what my physical activity is. It's basically the same diet, pretty much the same amount of food, and it's just getting more, I guess, natural to my genetic predispositioned ideal body weight. And I thought that at one point was 185 pounds. I'm now below 170. And I'm not really any smaller. I'm just getting tighter. And that's what I'm finding over and over again with people that are sticking to this. Once your body is comfortable and it's got the right things and you're cutting out the wrong things, all of a sudden things change and you go through these magical transformations. And once it starts snowballing. And then, of course, it levels off. But yet we look at it like it's genetics. And I don't believe that, because I've been a short, stocky, fat kid my whole life. I'll put a picture up here. Like, this was me in my 30s. Look at how puffy I was. Now, when we're getting older, we're supposed to slow down. We're supposed to get weaker. And that's just not true, because I've completely reversed it. And now by the time I'm almost 50, and I feel the best I've ever felt in my life. And I don't care what anybody says. How can you argue that? Regardless of what you feel your belief is optimal or not, it's happening to me. And I'm seeing it happen with other people, some very quickly, others taking a lot of time. And once that body, all the nervous systems, your hormones, everything starts working in balance and back to a 0 point, then you can start to evolve and change. But the problem is, and it's my belief, my opinion, we are so broken. Where are we starting from? And that's why you have all these people with their different ideas about what works, what doesn't. Of course, it's going to be nuanced. And your dietary protocol, your choices, your lifestyle, the environmental pressures, our jobs, our stress, all have a part to play. And it's my belief that when you take care of everything, you take care of your body, your health, focus on the foundations, sleeping, breathing, eating, moving, loving yourself. As you progress, everything comes into balance. So you can try and sleep better, but if you're not focusing on breathing better or moving better, it's probably or eating better. They're all intertwined. So as your body gets back to its natural place that it's supposed to be at, epigenetics matter. Above your genetics, reflect how your genes transcribe. So we're seeing it with reversing disease, hormone balancing, body composition, body fat percentage, potential energy. Learn how to tap into your potential energy. And you know what? Good things happen. Does it mean forever? It doesn't have to be. But we have two metabolic systems, sugar and fat. Why not learn how to optimize both? Because I can pretty much guarantee, if you're watching this and you're new to this, you're a sugar burner. Primarily. They say it's the most important, or it's a primary fuel source. No, it's the fuel that your body uses first, because it's dangerous. Excess blood sugar, excess sugar in the blood is dangerous. It has to deal with it. So that would mean putting it in places to use. If it doesn't use, it stores as fat. Now, as your body fat percentage goes up, you've got more potential energy. Learning to tap into that energy and working in your favor, all of a sudden it becomes your diet. When the body's comfortable and it's getting the necessary essential nutrients, the body fat will go. But you have to get fat adapted. You have to be in some form of ketosis. Now, it's not about the ketogenic diet. It's not about the carnivore diet. It's about giving your body a chance to get into the state. Trying to go from 0 to hero fasting, I believe in fasting. Of course, I think it's great. I think it helps. It's healing. There's arguments out there. But the ability to fast will greatly depend on your ability to not be dependent on sugar. The more fat adapted you are, the easier and longer you can fast, skip a meal, and it becomes yours. So that's where it is. If you need some help to learn how to do this, message me, email me, sign up for on my website. I'll post all the information below. I'm here to bring another perspective, because it's always black or white. It's never black or white. And God and Mother Nature, they designed us perfectly. And I think we're just getting in the way. And understanding how to get your body working in your favor doesn't have to be forever. But I can tell you, when you start feeling great every day, it's really hard to argue. And is it wrong? They can't study that. I feel like I did when I was a kid on summer holidays, and I couldn't wait to go outside and play with my friends every day when I wake up. My physical body is responding to my lifestyle. Whether you want to call it root chakra activation, we spend so much time on our upper chakras trying to get enlightened. But yet the roots, the foundation, is where it all starts. Get connected. And if you connect with your body and learn to use intuition, anything is possible. I've seen miracles happen. I've seen disease reversed. I've seen ladies in their late 60s and early 70s completely transform and reclaim their health. There is no boundaries. This is uncharted territory. Stay strong.